The morning after my wife's funeral, my son placed a stack of papers in front of me and said, "Dad, sign the house over before things get complicated." He said it while I was still wearing the black suit I had buried my wife in. My coffee was cold. Her framed photograph was still sitting beside the flowers people had brought the night before. And my son, Evan, was standing in my kitchen talking about complications. I looked at the papers. Transfer forms, property documents, a blank signature line waiting for me. My name is Leonard Price. I am 72 years old, retired from commercial construction in Boston, Massachusetts. For most of my life, I was the kind of man who believed a house was more than wood, brick, and a mortgage. A house was where you built your family, where you brought your children home from the hospital, where you kept every bad school photo, every birthday card, every argument, every apology. My wife, Marianne, and I bought that house 39 years ago. It was small then, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a porch that leaned slightly to the left. We painted the walls ourselves. We fixed the roof ourselves. We saved for years before replacing the old kitchen floor. Every corner of that house carried Marianne. The yellow curtains she insisted on buying, the herb garden behind the fence, the little crack in the hallway wall from when Evan crashed his bicycle into it at age 9. And now, less than 24 hours after she was gone, my own son wanted me to sign it away. Why? I asked him. Evan looked tired, not grieving tired, annoyed tired. "Dad, you cannot keep living here by yourself. I have lived here for almost 4 decades. You are older now." I stared at him. So is everyone else. His wife, Camilla, sat at the far end of the table pretending to scroll through her phone. She had been quiet all morning. Too quiet. Then she looked up and said, "It is a lot of house for one person. You could move somewhere smaller, easier. Maybe one of those senior apartment communities." I turned toward her. "Did you two discuss this before coming here?" Evan answered too fast. "We are trying to help." That sentence. I had heard it before. When Evan needed help with his first car. When he needed help paying off a credit card. When he wanted money to launch a business that lasted 11 months. "We are trying to help" usually meant someone wanted something from me. I pushed the papers back across the table. "I am not signing anything today." Evan's jaw tightened. "Dad, this is not about money." "No?" I asked. "Then why are there transfer forms on my kitchen table before the funeral flowers have started dying?" Camilla stood up. "You are being emotional." For a second I almost laughed. My wife had been buried the day before. Of course I was emotional, but there was something colder beneath that sentence. She wanted grief to make me look unstable. She wanted sadness to make me easier to manage. Evan picked up the papers. "Think about it," he said. Then they left. No hug. No "how are you holding up?" No mention of Marianne. Just the front door closing behind them. I stood in that kitchen for a long time. Then I noticed something strange. On the counter beside the bread box was an envelope. White, unmarked, except for my name written in Marianne's handwriting. Leonard. My hands started shaking before I even opened it. Inside was a short note. It said, "My love, if Evan comes to you asking for the house, call Lydia Hart before you do anything else. She has something I kept from you because I needed to be sure you would be protected." At the bottom, Marianne had written a phone number. Lydia Hart was the notary who handled our estate documents years ago. I had not spoken to her in almost a decade. But the next morning I called. She answered on the second ring. "Mr. Price," she said softly, "I was hoping you would." That sentence made my stomach tighten. "What did Marianne leave?" "Please come to my office," she said. "Come alone. Now tell me honestly, would you have told your son about the letter immediately? Or would you have gone quietly and found out why your wife told you not to trust him? Comment "tell him" if you believe family deserves honesty right away. Comment "stay quiet" if you think proof should come before confrontation. I went alone. Lydia's office was on the 6th floor of an old brick building near Beacon Hill. She had always been a precise woman, silver hair, sharp glasses, a voice that made every sentence sound legally important. When I arrived, she did not offer small talk. She placed a small velvet box on the desk. Inside was a key, a brass key with a black tag attached. Penthouse 14B. I looked at her. "What is this?" Lydia folded her hands. Your wife purchased a condominium 3 years ago. I stared at her. A condominium? A penthouse unit in Cambridge. I thought she had made a mistake. Marianne and I did not buy penthouses. We bought hardware store paint. We compared grocery prices. We saved receipts. Why would she do that? Lydia opened a folder. Because she discovered something about Evan's finances. My chest tightened. What? She slid several documents toward me. Business loan applications, overdue notices, credit reports, private lender agreements, then a document with my name on it. I read it twice. Evan had applied for a business refinance 6 months earlier. He listed my house as a family asset. He also included information about a trust Marianne and I had created years ago. Information I had never given him. He got this from Marianne, I asked. Lydia nodded slowly. He pressured her. The room went silent. What do you mean, pressured her? Your wife came to me last year. She was worried Evan had been asking her questions about the house, your savings, your insurance policy, and what would happen if you became unable to manage things. I could barely breathe. Lydia continued. She told me he had started suggesting you should eventually move into assisted living. He said it would be safer for you. Safer, the same word Camilla used the day before. The same plan. They had been waiting. Marianne had known, and she had prepared. The penthouse had been purchased through a separate trust in my name. No debt, no mortgage, no access for Evan, no ability for anyone else to sell it or borrow against it. Lydia handed me another envelope. This one was thicker. My wife's final letter. I opened it slowly. Leonard, I am sorry I kept this from you. I knew you would defend Evan because he is our son. You always see the little boy before you see the man. But I saw what he was becoming. He's been borrowing money, hiding bills, and asking questions about things that do not belong to him. I tried to believe he was simply scared, but fear does not give someone the right to plan around another person's death. The penthouse is for you, not because I wanted you to leave our home, but because I wanted you to have a choice nobody could take from you. And if Evan asks for the house after I'm gone, do not mistake his urgency for love. I stopped reading. For a long time I could not speak. My wife had been dying, and while I was sitting beside her hospital bed, holding her hand, she had been protecting me from our own son. Lydia gave me one more document. It showed that Evan had tried to contact a realtor 2 months earlier, not to ask about the market, to request an estimate on my house. He had told the realtor I was considering a rapid sale after a family medical situation. He had been preparing to sell my home before Marianne was even gone. That was when the grief inside me changed. It did not become rage. It became clarity. I did not call Evan. I did not send him the letter. I did not tell Camilla what I knew. Instead, I went home, packed one suitcase, and spent the night in the penthouse. It overlooked the Charles River. High windows, quiet rooms, a balcony with a view Marianne would have loved. On the kitchen counter was one more thing. A small vase filled with dried lavender, my wife's favorite scent, and beside it another note. Start wherever you need to start, but start somewhere they cannot control. The next morning, I called my financial advisor. Then I called my attorney. By noon, my original house was placed into a protected trust. Nobody could sell it. Nobody could use it as collateral. Nobody could pressure me into transferring it. Then I canceled the financial access Evan had been quietly using. The supplemental account, the credit card linked to my name, the recurring transfers for his business expenses. I had been paying more than I realized. Storage fees, insurance premiums, a loan payment, even part of the lease on Camilla's luxury SUV. 3 days later, Evan called. His voice was tense. Dad, something is wrong with the account. I know. The transfer did not go through. I know. And the bank said the property information is blocked. Yes. There was a long silence. Then he asked the question I had been waiting for. Did Mom tell you something? I looked out across the river. She did. His breathing changed. Dad, you do not understand. No, I said quietly. I understand more than I ever did. He came to see me that evening. Not at the old house. At the penthouse. When Lydia gave him the address, he was shocked. He stood in the doorway looking around like he had walked into a secret life he was not supposed to see. Mom bought this? he asked. Yes. For you? Yes. He looked hurt. But not because Marianne hid it from him. Because she hid it where he could not reach it. He tried to explain. He said the business problems were temporary. He said Camilla was stressed. He said he only wanted to protect the family assets. I listened. Then I asked him one question. Why did you call a realtor before your mother died? He froze. That was enough. I told him I knew about the loan documents, the hidden debt, the questions he asked Marianne, the plan to move me out and use my home to fix his failures. His face collapsed. Not dramatically, not like a movie, just a man realizing the story he told himself had finally run out of places to hide. I was desperate, he whispered. I know, I said, but desperation does not make theft into love. He started crying. For a moment I saw the little boy Marianne and I raised, but then I remembered her letter. You always see the little boy before you see the man, and I understood what she meant. I told Evan I loved him, because I did. But I also told him he would not receive another dollar from me until he learned to stand on his own feet. No more accounts. No more transfers. No more access to things he had not earned. He left quietly. Camilla filed for separation 2 months later, after the business debts became impossible to hide. Evan moved into a small rental outside the city. He got a job with a construction supplier and started paying off what he owed. Slowly, without asking me to rescue him. I still own the old house. I visit sometimes. I sit on the porch. I water Marianne's roses. I remember the life we built there. But I live in the penthouse now, not because I ran away, because Marianne gave me a place to begin again. And every evening when the sun drops over the river, I look at the city lights and think about the key Lydia placed in my hand. My wife did not leave me a penthouse. She left me freedom. Freedom from being treated like an obstacle. Freedom from confusing guilt with love. Freedom to choose where I lived, what I gave, and who I trusted. And that was worth more than any house my son ever tried to take.